Hi guys, welcome back to AMMA SAT. We are actually at the last episode of our math. Hooray. Alright, so let's take a look at the right triangle trigonometry. Alright, so let's just take a glance of the textbook. Trig on SAT is limited to right triangles. So take a look at that. And then basically test it on sine, cosine, and tan or cotangent. So these are different things. So we're gonna take a look at the right triangle. It's the triangle that has a 90 degrees angle, right? So you have the angle here. And then there's a right triangle. So the longest side of the triangle is called the hypotenuse. Yeah, you have to know these names. So names are important because when you are looking at an SAT problem, you have to understand what it is talking about, right? So, and then if you put an angle theta here, the side that is opposite to the angle, it's the opposite. Pretty easy. And the side which is adjacent to theta is called the adjacent. That's easy for us to know. All right, so then you have the three names of the three sides, and then you can pretty much define sine theta, cosine theta, and tan theta. So it's pretty easy. So sine theta is going to be the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. And then cosine theta is going to be the adjacent. I just write ADJ. And then divided by the hypotenuse. Tan theta is the opposite, so OPP divided by ADJ, the adjacent. And then sometimes you have the cotangent theta. This one is rarely tested in the SAT, but just see that it should be the other way around. So adjacent divided by the opposite. All right, so we still need to look at some of the special values here. Theta is usually like 30 degrees or 60 degrees or 45 degrees. So these 3 degrees are the most tested. So if it's 30 degrees, then sine 30 degrees is 1 over 2, right? So that means if this one is 2, hypotenuse is 2. And then cosine 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. If it's 60 degrees, then that's the other way around. So sine 60 degrees is square root of 3 over 2, and cosine 60 degrees is 1 over 2. You have very important formulas. Guys, look at this one. It's going to be tested over and over and over and over and over again in the SAT. So sine x is equal to cosine 90 degrees minus x. So just keep that in your mind. If the sine cosine 30 degrees is equal to sine 60 degrees. So you're going to use this formula to solve a lot of the SAT problems. We can use trigonometry to solve a lot of a real world problem like this one here. So a 20-foot ladder leaned against the wall. So I just say this is a wall. It's supposed to be perpendicular to the ground, and the ladder, I'm going to just use one line to stand for the ladder. And the ladder is leaning against the wall, making a 65 degrees angle with the ground, not with the wall. A lot of people, they read problems very fast, and then they think this one is going to be this one is going to be 65 degrees. That's not true. So the ladder with the ground is here, ground. And this is the ladder. This angle is 65 degrees. And how high up the wall does the ladder reach? So this side, we're going to find this side, right? So remember the formula sine theta is equal to the opposite divided by the hypotenuse, right? Just write hypo here. And then you know that the opposite to this angle here is the height, h, right? So h divided by, and the hypotenuse is the length of the ladder, which is 20 feet. So 20. And then theta here is 65. So it's equal to sine 65. We need to find how much h is. So we have to use a calculator to find the value of sine 65. 65. If you tap this, then you would be wrong because this is the radian, not the degree. So we have to use degrees. Let's click the setting here and change the mode to degrees. Where's the degrees here? Degrees. Radians, degrees. Just click the degrees button and then 65. And then you get the value, which is so 0.906, right? So let's just keep it there. 0.906. Right? So that's the value of this thing. And this thing is equal to h divided by 20. And then h is equal to 0.906 times 20, right? So we can use a calculator again. So 0.906 times 20. So that's going to give you 18.12. It's approximately equal to 18.1 feet. Yeah, so that's how you solve that. Basically, it requires you to use this formula to build up equations and then solve that equation. All right, so it's pretty simple. 2 steps. It's basically 3 steps. Remember the names of the sides of the triangle: opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Remember the 3, this one, the sine theta. sine theta, cosine. So remember the three formulas and then apply the formula into the real world problem. Put the values in, solve the equation, get the solution. We have finished all of the math tutorials so far, so I probably would do more and put more shorts on TikTok, YouTube. If you see me on the social media, just come over and say hi. I'll be always there. Bye, guys.